Alright guys, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be giving you my Death Knight leveling guide for classic Wrath of the Lich King. As always, we'll cover the 5 most important topics. Firstly, we'll go through some very cheeky tips and tricks, the best talent build and glyphs, playstyle, weapon progression, and then lastly we'll talk about your stat priority to focus on while leveling. Anyway, let's not muck about, let's jump straight in. So if you guys are worried about not being able to get good gear during the pre-patch phase of the game before you jump into leveling in Wrath, well, don't worry, because there's an extremely easy option to get, the Arcanite Ripper. It's actually a weapon that you can get from a pre-patch event. And I've been reading Wowhead comments from years and years ago, and apparently it drops every single time. And many people are going to be reading that pre-patch event in Karazhan, so probably quite easy to get. If you don't end up getting this though, there's some other options in the weapon progression section of the video. Now guys, I'd recommend getting enough gold to afford Dual Spec before you jump into Wrath of the Lich King. It's from years and years ago, and apparently it drops every single time. And many people are going to...
I've wanted to compare release Death Knights to final patch Death Knights for...
Alright guys, and welcome to the best talent build and glyphs, playstyle, weapon progression, and then lastly we'll talk about your stat priority to focus on while leveling. Anyway, let's not muck about, let's jump straight in. So if you guys are worried about not being able to get good gear during the pre-patch phase of the game before you jump into leveling in Wrath, well, don't worry, because there's an extremely easy option to get, the Arcanite Ripper. It's actually a weapon that you can get from a pre-patch event. And I've been reading Wowhead comments from years and years ago, and apparently it drops every single time. And many people are going to be running that pre-patch event in Karazhan, so probably quite easy to get. If you don't end up getting this though, there's some other options in the weapon progression section of the video. Now guys, I'd recommend getting enough gold to afford Dual Spec before you jump into Wrath of the Lich King, because it's really useful having Blood off spec while leveling, because it makes it much easier to solo certain elite quests. The fastest build to leveling is actually in Hold, I'll talk about that later. But sometimes you can't solo a particular elite quest because, well, Blood is obviously much better for soloing. And you're going to miss out on loads of XP if you cannot complete a certain elite quest, because obviously elite quests give cheeky cherry on the top when it comes to experience. Obviously I'd also recommend in that pre-patch phase of the game getting 25 quests ready to turn in. I actually have a really good list for the best 25 quests to get turned in. Subscribe to my channel and go to my channel page. There will be a link in the description of my sub-trailer video, and that has a really good and fast 25 quest route that you can do. If you do want to take it a little bit further, members on my channel do also get access to use quite often on items over around about level 76. Now, got a cheeky macro for you, the Death Pact macro. What it does is when you don't already have your pet summoned, it will summon your pet, and then it will obviously Death Pact it, which returns a lot of health to you. The trick to this macro though is you've got to spam it. If your pet isn't already summoned, you've got to spam it, because you've got to wait for the pet to actually get out of the ground before you can sacrifice it. Definitely much better than having 2 separate keybinds though. Remember, you can also use Dark Command, which is obviously your taunt ability, to pull mobs closer to you so you can get bigger mob pulls. And obviously you can combine that with Death Grip to just get some extra enemies in your pool of enemies that you're about to kill. Another tip, this Death and Decay macro, what it does is you'd use Death and Decay instantly on your cursor location. So you don't even see the green reticule thing on the ground. It will just get your Death and Decay up much faster. You can also change that from @cursor to @player if you just want it to appear on your player's location. So similar to a Mage's Arcane Explosion or a Warrior's Whirlwind, when you jump it does actually increase the range of Blood Boil slightly, so just remember that. I remember to actually make use of the corpses that you've killed in a previous pull in your next pull. You know, if there's going to be corpses lying on the ground, you can still blow those up to do AoE damage to the next group of enemies.
Be careful.
Now let's run through the talents. First thing to talk about when it comes to talents is people argue so much about a certain point here or there, when in reality it makes probably about a hairline of difference. As long as you pick up the essential mandatory talents for leveling, you're going to be Bob's your uncle, and there's going to be nothing to worry about. I'm going to show you what talents I prefer to go for. If you prefer to go for something else, tell me in the comment section. Please do it respectfully and understand that people have different preferred playstyles. In tier 1, I'm going to go for Vicious Strikes and Virulence straight away. Long story short, extra crit and more hit chance. From here we're definitely going to get Epidemic. This extends our dot duration so it just perfectly fits into a mob pull, and you also get an extra Death Strike off before you have to refresh your diseases. You definitely cannot go without that talent. Mobility is also nice for the slight increased damage on Death Coil, reduced cooldown on Death and Decay, allowing us to use Death and Decay pretty much every single pull. And then we also get 3 points of Ravenous Dead for the flat strength increase, which is going to boost the power of strength gear, and also ghoul. You here allowed to get Corpse Explosion, and then you're going to put points into Necrosis. Necrosis is alright, some fairly decent passive damage. It's not absolutely groundbreaking damage because it's not AoE damage. We really just put points in Necrosis to get us down the tree. And from here we're definitely going to get on a Pale Horse, the most useful leveling talent in all of these trees, to be honest, because it's 20% increased movement speed. In the long term, you know, it's going to take about 30-40 hours of leveling in Wrath of the Lich King. That's going to save you a lot of time. Then we get Night of the Dead, obviously to get a permanent ghoul. It's a nice thing to have for I'm mainly using my ghoul, honestly, for the corpse explosions, because the corpse explosions are very fun on the pet. Then we get a point in Necrosis, again, just to get us down the tree. Then we're going to max out Impurity. This is 20% extra benefit from your attack power, and it goes very well with a talent over here called Bladed Armor that's going to increase our attack power per armor value. I also think Dirge is pretty essential. I've seen some builds that don't get Dirge. The amount of runic power you get from Dirge is really nice, because it's obviously going to an extra 5 runic power on every single one of your Death Strikes. You generate all that runic power up, and then you can burn it on Corpse Explosions for more AoE damage. Now here, I think you definitely have options. You definitely have to get Master of a Ghoul. You can't go without having a permanent Ghoul. You can get points in Desecration. Desecration's quite nice, actually. If you're taking too much damage and you're pulling loads and loads of enemies, you can use Desecration to kite enemies, give a little bit of breathing room, wait for your Death Strike to come available, and then go back into melee range and do your Death Strike. I also like to go for Ghoul Frenzy. Not everyone likes to go for Ghoul Frenzy, but I think this is useful when I'm taking on elites. It's a nice extra cooldown that's going to boost my damage by a little bit. I'm definitely going to get improved in Holy Presence. One thing to note is an improved Holy Presence will work before you level 70 and unlock Unholy Presence, so you should be definitely getting it. From here, I like to get Unholy Blight. You don't really see the value of Unholy Blight that much in your day-to-day life as a Death Knight. It's more for when you're taking on elite enemies. And considering you just have to put 1 point in this for quite, well, not a huge DPS increase, but considering it's 1 talent point, it's a decent DPS increase for 1 talent point, especially as Unholy Blights do roll into each other, so it's quite useful again for when you're taking on elite enemies. From here, I like to just get 1 point in Magic Suppression. There's a lot of casting enemies in Wrath of the Lich King which are a pain in the backside, so the extra boost to your anti-magic shell and obviously the flat 2% less damage from magic it's not that bad. I think it's the best option out of the others. Some people like to max out Desolation here, but personally, I never use Bloodstrike. So it's only going to really be useful when the rare situation where I use Bloodstrike on an elite enemy. Personally, not my preferred option, but some people do prefer to go for that. And from here, Bone Shield, Crypt Fever. Bone Shield is extremely nice because it protects you from 20% less damage. It's very useful when you're running around pulling mobs, because you're going to get hit in the back a lot. Stops you from taking too much damage before you have to get enemies clumped up in the first place. Crypt Fever, just flat disease increasing. This is, again, a very key talent that separates Unholy from the other specs. You kill mobs so much faster on Unholy spec. Yeah, you can probably pull more mobs in Blood spec because you have that slightly increased survivability. But since you kill the mob so much faster Unholy definitely pulls ahead. And then to get you down the tree, you can put more points in Necrosis if you wish. I prefer putting some points in Magic Suppression because it is very useful in a number of situations. Then from here, I'm going to max out Ebb and Plaguebringer, definitely Wandering Plague. These, again, so these 3 talents here, it's like the holy trinity of why Unholy is the Giga Chad spec for leveling. Increased disease damage, even more increased disease damage, and then now, your diseases have a chance whenever they tick to blow up and cause even more AoE damage. I've been playing Death Knight on the beta quite a bit now, and even with pretty bad gear, because of his free talents, mobs just totally melt. I can't wait to get my real Death Knight geared up and then do leveling, because yeah, with these free talents I'm just going to melt the whole of Northrend. Then from here you're definitely going to max out Rage of Rivendare and summon Gargoyle. You can pick up Skirt Strike if you want, if you're leveling purely by dungeons, or you just want it for the sake of it. Personally, I don't actually get it.
From the fur lining. Engineering has some nice bonuses as well. The nitro boots. You can also get the engineering belt. It's going to give you increased critical strike chance and increased critical strike damage bonus of your Plague Strike and Scourge Strike. Very, very strong. I love this talent. We have Virulence, which increases your chance to hit with spells by 3% and reduces the chance your dots get removed or cured, which is fine. It's going to be good later if you're going for PvP. Now from this...
It's been pretty lazy for me, at least. I don't know. Are you working?
Off with you. Interest you on a pint? Be good.
Point, I really like Morbidity and I really like Ravenous Dead, increasing your total strength by 1%, as well as increasing the damage done and healing of Death Coil by 5%, are both very strong. I think Ravenous Dead is stronger. Just overall gaining that bonus strength is great. It's going to improve every single one of your abilities, so I like to get Ravenous Dead, and then I like to get Morbidity, so you can get that increased damage of Death Coil. From there, you can just get Outbreak because it's very strong. It increases the damage of your Plague Strike by 30%, so you want to get this one ASAP. From there, actually Epidemic helps a lot because you don't want to be refreshing your dots too frequently. This is going to increase the duration of Blood Plague and Frost Fever by 6 seconds, so you can use your runes on more. We are going to talk about Northrend Weapon. Now, changing gears, we're going to talk a little bit about leveling your new, fresh Death Knight. Now, we're going to talk about gear to get while leveling, and Death Knights are unique in that doing your starting series of quests gets you a full set of rares that frankly look amazing. So when you head to Outland to start leveling, your gear is pretty decent and doesn't actually get replaced immediately. Even Hellreaver, the great two-handed polearm from Ramparts, is only slightly an upgrade from your Great Sword or Great Axe of the Ebon Blade that you get from the starting series of quests. If you can find a group while you're leveling, doing the Ring of Blood will be well worth it. You get lots of experience, as well as you get the Honed Void Axe, which is a nice upgrade in raw damage, and you also get 30 agility, especially if you're Orc. 5 expertise can be nice. At level 68, you can head to Northrend, where the new continent awaits, and when it comes to getting good gear, a lot of it honestly will come from dungeons, and then heroics, and then raids, but while you're leveling, a good weapon is something worth going out of your way for. So, we are going to talk about Northrend weapon progression, starting with two-handed axes. So when you first land on Outland, the first item you should probably seek out is the Axe of Frozen Death. This is a level 68 quest reward in Borean Tundra called Last Rites if you're Alliance, or Hellscream's Champion if you're Horde. Now, obviously, this definitely sort of shows my bias for starting in Borean Tundra versus on the east side of Northrend and the Howling Fjord, but that's up to you. I think the Axe of Frozen Death is a great starter weapon. The next weapon you could potentially get that's also an axe is Captain Carver's Persuader. This is a level 73 world drop BOE, so good luck finding it, but if you want to go to the auction house and purchase one, chances are you'll probably be able to find it. And then after that, we're going to talk about the Honed Cobalt Cleaver. This is also a level 73 BOE blue. However, this is made from blacksmiths, and it's really not that hard to make. It just requires 4 Saronite bars, 12 Cobalt bars, and 2 crystallized fire, so you could probably find that. And then at level 75, there's the De-Raged War Axe. This is a quest reward from the Amphitheater of Anguish. So just like Ring of Blood, Northrend has the Amphitheater of Anguish, lots of experience, and you get that nice good item at the end. At level 78, there's the Wormclaw Battle Axe from the Cache of Aragos in the Oculus. And then from that point, there's a lot of level 80 options. You could potentially get the Edge of Oblivion, which is level 80 from Jadoga Shadowseeker, a boss in An-Kahet, the Old Kingdom. There's the Colossal Skullclad Cleaver, a level 80 purple from Loken in the Halls of Lightning. And those are all different axes. I did forget to mention Ingvar's Monolithic Cleaver. This is actually a level 70 axe, which drops from Ingvar the Plunderer in Utgard Keep. So there's also that option too. Moving on to two-handed maces, which Death Knights can use in Wrath of the Lich King, we have the Petrified Ironwood Smasher. This is a level 76 BOE blue world drop. Again, probably you're not going to find it, but maybe on the auction house you might. Saronite Mind Crusher. This is actually a BOP blacksmithing weapon, so chances are you're not going to get this unless you already have all of the materials from an alt to level up blacksmithing on your Death Knight very quickly. It requires 20 Saronite bars and 2 crystallized fire, so not very hard to make. There's Durkee's Superstructure. This is actually a level 80 mace that drops off a rare elite in the Storm Peaks, so once you get max level you could go for it. There's also the Crimson Cranium Crusher, which is a level 75 quest reward from the Amphitheater of Anguish if you're going for those two-handed maces. Moving on to two-handed swords, the Troll Butcherer is a level 74 item that drops from Trollgore in Draktheron Keep. There is Dreadlord's Blade, which is a level
You got my attention. Watch your back. Off with you.
What did he do in here? God damn it, how the fuck do I get in here?
level 78 item in the Culling of Stratholme. There's also the Sword of Justice, which enters twice, and then you by using Icy Touch. This is a ranged ability, so it's very easy to use first while you're walking to the enemy, and then by the time you arrive, your GCD should be back, your global cooldown, and you can use Plague Strike, and now both of your Frost Fever and Blood Plague diseases are now on the target, and you can start using Blood Strike. You'll use Blood Strike twice, and then use Scourge Strike. At this point, you can pop your cooldowns and cast Summon Gargoyle. Now, the Gargoyle will get your stats at the time of casting, so that's why you pop the cooldowns right before you summon your Gargoyle. There's a lot of great cooldowns that go well with Summon Gargoyle. From there, you'd use Scourge Strike again. You could cast your Empower Rune Weapon, which refreshes all of your runes.
What's on your mind? Watch your back.
I supply only the finest goods. Have a good one.
Oh. More.